Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedyadramidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Maritvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So I have a confession to make. I have miscalculated the number of shlokas for our 12-week course. So we only have 3 weeks left, and it's not likely I'm going to be able to finish the text in that time. So we have some options. What I would like to do for those of you who have time commitments and can only commit to the 12 weeks, we will not be able to finish the class, but you will get as much as you got. But I am more than happy to extend the class a couple weeks or so to finish the text. So you can decide what you'd like to do. How about you? Can you stay a couple extra weeks?
I can.
Okay, great. That should work. All right. And does anyone remember where we are in our text?
41.
41. So Puneet, will you help us out tonight?
Sure. Jnana Jnaya Bheda Pare Natmani Vidyate Chidanandai Karupatva Dipyate Swayamevahi. There are no distinctions such as knower, knowledge, and the object of knowledge in the Supreme Self. Since it is of the nature of homogeneous consciousness and bliss, the Self has no such distinctions within itself. It shines by itself.
Yes. So when we have done our subject-object discrimination, I am not the body, I am not the prana, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I'm not even the darkness of deep sleep. Then the doubt arises. Guruji, that's everything. By what entity then is the self to be known? And here we have one of the most important points in the whole tradition. How do you know you are you? And here Shankara is talking about our classic distinction of what we call the triputhy, the triple factor: knower, knowing, and known. So in the world of objective knowledge, we always have the triputhy. We have a knower, we have an instrument, a means of knowledge, a praman, and we have the thing known, an object of knowledge. For example, I, Jim, through seeing, cognize the table. I, through hearing, cognize the traffic noises. I, through manas, mind, cognize feeling. I, through buddhi, intellect, cognize thoughts. How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, or smell, emote, or think yourself. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I wonder if he ever tried meditation, and if he stopped thinking, see if he disappears. So I am not known by the known instruments of perception. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling, thinking. Yet I am not unknown. How do I know it? I am the knower. The self is its own means of knowledge. It needs no instrument. And the self is that which is known, though never as an object. You're never going to be in meditation and oh, there's the self going by. The self is self-evident, swayambhu, self-luminous or self-shining, swayamjyoti. The self is that by which everything else is known. But itself is self-evident. The triple factor is merged, doesn't occur. It is a different knowing. Now listen carefully. By the way, listen carefully is a translation of Shranahu. Listen. Everybody already has that. The most miserable of creatures experiences the self. I can go outside and there can be some person who's on smoking crack, walking up and down the street, screaming at things, and stop them. How are you doing, dude? They're chasing me. Do you exist? Yeah, I exist. They're out to get me. What's your life like? It's miserable. Do you know your misery? Yeah, I know my misery. Give me some money. He thunders, I am. I know. He does not lack the direct experience of the self. If it could be gained, it could be lost. So this self-evidence of I is the only real knowledge of the self, the big capital R. Now, sat is the word we use to translate as real. Our philosophical definition of real, that which is never subject to negation. So the dream state, I'm dreaming away, it seems so real, but I wake up, poof, it's gone. It's waking state world, it's negated by deep sleep. Oh, Jim, I took LSD and I saw what's real. Okay. What happened when you came down? Gone. It's not real. What is it that's never subject to negation? When have you ever not been you? Well, I wasn't before I was born. Oh. Well, I don't remember before I was born. Well, you don't remember before you were 2 or 3. In fact, what is today, the 22nd of June? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing on the 22nd of June? Last year. Do you remember? Memory is no test of continuity or reality. Yet you have never ceased to be. Now, listen very carefully. We're dealing with 2 kinds of knowledge here. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. The self-evidence of the self is always there. What is my bondage? My bondage is nothing more than the deeply rooted conviction in my mind that I'm bound. Meaning, I think I'm my body. There is no other liberation than the deeply rooted conviction based on direct experience, not just intellectual assent. Not that I'm a realized person, but I am Brahman. I am that ground of being. So we have 2 things going on. There is the constant, eternal, direct knowing of I, the self-evidence of I. My problem is, on top of that, I have all this craziness because of spiritual ignorance, which is like deep hypnotism. I think I'm the body. So what do? In a very subtle intellect that's been purified through practice, an auspicious moment in the space between the thoughts, with the attention turned within, the subtle intellect notices, it reflects on the direct experience. The intellect comes, oh, I'm not a person. I'm the space of consciousness. That deep insight occurs to the subtle intellect, technically. Now, what happens in deep sleep? Gone. You do not go away, but all your knowledge does. Now, if that experience is complete and deep, we call samadhi. When the intellect returns, it is completely changed. And you know you're not a person anymore. So two things are going on. There's direct experience, and then there's reflection on that experience. Let me give you some concrete examples. You may have done this in the basic course. Did we do hand rubbing in the basic course?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we'll repeat it. Rub your hands together. Now stop. The instrument for the direct experience of hand rubbing is hands. Now we're going to perform a second function called reflection. When you rubbed your hands together, was it warm or was it cool?
Warm.
Was it stasis or motion? Motion. You performed that thinking, that reflection with your subtle intellect. With your subtle intellect. Rub your hands together. Wrong instrument. The instrument for the direct experience of hand rubbing is hands. Let's do another one. Bring your mind's eye, your attention to the waistband of your trousers. Are your pants too tight? Are they too loose? Are they just about right? The nice thing about a dhoti is one size fits all. The direct experience of the waistband of your trousers on your skin. That's the direct experience. But we now reflect on it. I put on a little bit of weight. My pants are a little tight today. That's called reflection. Do you understand the difference?
The reflection isn't happening while you're experiencing. It's a kind of a
Well, for your skin, it can. For the self, no, you're right. It happens after the fact. When the mind returns, it goes, oh, there's nobody there. Just like, for example, when you awaken in the morning. Oh, I slept so soundly. I can't remember a thing. I'm in the same position I was in when I went to bed. This is not happening while you're sleeping. It's happening after the fact.
So I'm using memory to reflect.
Yes.
But what if the memory has distortion or remembers something that wasn't there?
Then you have probably some vasana left. Samadhi is absolutely self-validating. You're wide awake and the individuality is gone. And in the deepest samadhi, the world is gone. You remain. And then when the mind returns, you literally watch Genesis take place. All the creation myths in scripture are not about what happened 13.8 billion years ago. They are about the mystic returning from samadhi. all various ways to try to say that with the language of poetry. How will I know if I've had samadhi? Believe me, it is absolutely self-validating. What does it do? It absolutely reveals to you the nothingness of the self. Now, back to your distorted memory, or maybe I'm reflecting on an experience that may not be it. We have what we call the four pramanas. Pramana means a means of knowledge. We used that word earlier, but it also means an authority. So what's the first authority? Shruti. What do the Upanishads say about the nature of the self? We can reduce it into the four great utterances, Mahavakyas. Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. Ayamatma Brahma. This self is Brahman. Tattvamasi. You are that. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. First authority. Second authority. The great teaching of the saints and sages through history. Who thunder, it's true, it's true, it's true. The Ramana Maharshis, the Shankaras, the Chinmayas, the Veda Vyasas. Third pramana, your own logical reasoning. Real spirituality is profound common sense. And of course, our greatest example of this is the Buddha himself. He was either too stubborn or couldn't find a teacher he could surrender to who knew what he was talking about. So he sits under the tree and says, "Fui, I'm not moving till I know, till I see." So he's the great example. It is through our own direct experience. Fourth pramana, your own direct experience. All four should line up. So if you've got a distorted memory, it will contradict those other three. Or distorted perception. Did that make sense? It's very, very clear. Now, what is the fruit of this samadhi? The fruit of this samadhi is knowledge of yourself. Samadhi does not have to be long. It can be momentary and still do its job. Meaning when you tune up the mind, just for a moment, like listen to the traffic. Now turn the mind's eye inward. Who hears it? Can you find a person in there? A little gray ball with wings. Some purple being, a higher self. Chidbakasha, the space of pure awareness. Don't believe me? Look. And then the mind goes, oh, there's nothing there. My, oh my, oh my. And then you see, does that direct experience and the insight that it reveals correspond to what the scriptures say. And once you see it, Lord Krishna himself could come up and say, you don't know it. You don't really know. You say, Lord, but I know. We don't go to the guru and say, I want an enlightenment certificate now. You either see it or you don't yet. But you will not see the self as an object. Now, I want to share something with you. This is a little bit off topic on the text. There is a condition that some people get, which is called second mind or enlightenment sickness. And that's when the mind returns and then the ego returns, identified with having had that experience. And what the intellect says to itself is not, I am the space of pure awareness, but it says, I'm an enlightened person. Unlike the rest of you here, mortals. I'm a bit special, a little superior, maybe a lot superior. We call it the stench of enlightenment sickness. You can usually tell it in somebody because they want to tell you about their experience. And if you come across someone who sets themselves up as a teacher, they're going to spend all their time telling you about their spiritual experience. They can have a lot of charisma. And you're left with, oh, Guruji is so great. But a Satguru, when you're with them, they will turn your mind on your own self. So 1 year, Swamiji was here and he was doing a camp actually down in San Jose State. And we used to have them in the summer. They were all on college campuses in those days. And we were in one of the big lecture halls. And there were about 200 people in there. I don't even remember which text he was doing. He usually did a Gita chapter in the evening and an Upanishad in the morning. But I do remember the whole room was tuned down. He had turned our minds back upon the self, myself. There was just this thunderous silence. Gets up and walks off stage. Nobody moved. He had disappeared. What was so present is Brahmasmi. I am that Brahman. That's a great Sadguru, Jagat Guru, world teacher. So there's a very famous Zen proverb. If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Well, any of you heard that one before?
Mhm.
What it means is if you start to think you, the person, know something significant, that too is an illusion, the personal sense of self. No personal sense of self is real, including the one that thinks you know something. Only really two states. You either know you are Brahman, meaning you know you're not a person, or you think you're some sort of a person, and it can be a worm up to thinking you're enlightened. All illusory. Don't try to be any kind of a person. If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. Drop it. Don't believe me. Get quiet and look. See if you can find a person in there. But that personness is a shadow self. It only appears when you don't look at it. When awareness peeps through the subtle intellect and then is colored by ignorance and peeps out at the world in the intellect, I assume Jim, who need to win. I have this problem. I have this. I need mine. I need mine. I need mine. I need mine. Oh, suffer, 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 suffer. And then the mind says, fix the world, fix me, fix the world, fix me. Struggle, 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 struggle. That's samsara. And it seems so valid. It seems so real. What the tradition says, shut up and get out. Drop the whole thing. I can't remember if we talked about this in the beginning class. Did we talk about the terrible demon Yebet?
I know I've heard you talk about it, but I don't think in this class or.
I made him up. Yebet. This is when your mind is just gone. And then the mind goes, yeah, but what about this? I mean, this is really important. Yeah, but what about, yeah, but what about, kill the demon. Yeah, but wonderful verse. Any thoughts or questions about it?
Jim, when you were talking about samadhi, did I understand correctly then we don't, it's when the intellect comes back that we recognize that we were there.
Yes.
But at the time, well, just don't at the time. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. It is like sleep in that there's no personal sense of self and no perception of the world. But unlike sleep, your mind's not covered in ignorance. You are fully there. Now, it is not particularly useful to go chasing samadhi. What holds the ignorance in place is vasana. After this class, we're going to study another text, Vivekachudamani, which I think is just the greatest handbook to higher consciousness. And in it, Shankara has a verse that goes like this: even after realization of the truth, meaning I've had moments of these deep insights, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and enjoyer, which is the cause for rebirth. Here, this doesn't mean I'm coming back as a cow or a lizard. It means I've re-identified. So we've all had that experience where, okay, I'm in class, and I get it. Or I may have had a very auspicious meditation. It's all so clear. But then somehow I'm out there in the world and I'm re-identified. I'm reborn as the ego. Does that make sense? And Shankara says this needs to be conscientiously rooted out through steady and continuous identification with the self. Meaning, hold on to this slogan: if I feel like a person, I'm deluded. Ego says resolve the struggle of ego. Yoga says drop the struggler. Drop it. Then he says it is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now that is considered liberation by the wise. So what is it that causes me to re-identify? It's the vasanas, those unconscious seeds. So if when ego arises, I can remember to drop it, that's what burns up the vasanas. Until we are sthita prajna, steady in our wisdom. So you are a full knower of the Supreme, not just a coincidental one. Is that useful?
Yes.
One of my favorite verses. All right. Next verse. Boy, that took a long time.
Verse. You ready to go home now?
No, it's all there. In the text. What to do? That's what the text says. I don't write the book.
It's just, it's all there. Right?
एवमात्मारणौ ध्यानम् अथ नै सततं कृते आदितावगतिर्ज्वाला सर्वज्ञानेन्धनं दहेत्. Thus, when the lower and the higher aspects of the self are churned together, the fire of knowledge which is generated shall burn down all the fuel of ignorance.
So he's making a reference to the way we make fire for the Vedic sacrifice, the higher and the lower adani, I think they're called. So what you've got is like two pieces of wood there and a dowel. And then you've got kind of like a bow, and then the string is wrapped around the dowel, and you go. And then in the bottom, you have a little bit of ghee and some cotton and stuff like that. And that's the old-timey way of making fire for Vedic sacrifice. I don't know, have you ever seen them do that? I think they use just a lighter now.
Yeah,
don't
it's
they?
just a match.
Yeah. They don't make fire that way. But that's what he's talking about. So what we have is the jnana, the thoughts of knowledge, the kinds of ideas that we've been getting in the scripture, and these practices of turning my mind inward and letting go of the world. And then that churns against my lower knowledge, which is I'm a person, I'm my body, my life sucks, I suck. The solution is to beat things, sit home and be full of pity or fear. None of you ever had those feelings, do you? So, turn away and burn up those lower thoughts. Now, we get what's called paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge. You read the scripture, watch a YouTube video, and you get an intellectual understanding. But he's also talking about aparoksha jnana, direct experience, meaning stop your mind. Turn your attention within. Notice the knower. Who am I? Oh, that's right. Chidananda Rupam. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am of the form of bliss consciousness. Shiva, auspiciousness. Not just as an intellectual idea, direct experience that burns up those lower thoughts over and over and over. Any thoughts on this? It's a wonderful image. Comes out of our ancient Vedic sacrifice. Next verse.
Aruneneva bodhena purvam santam asehrite tata avibharudvetpam swayam evam shumaniva. Just as the sun rises soon after Lord of the early dawn, Aruna, has dispelled the thick darkness that existed before, so too the self manifests on its own accord once the right knowledge has dispelled ignorance.
So this is such a wonderful image. So in English, we have dawn and we have sunrise. They are not the same thing. Dawn is the pre-sunrise gloaming. So if you're up before sunrise and it's dark, and what happens first is everything turns kind of purple. Then you hear the first of the birds. And then there's more light, and then some of the color starts to come into the world. And depending on where you are, if you're on the East Coast, then finally you look out in the ocean and the Lord's sun rises. So Aruna is that pre-sunrise gloaming. So you don't have to completely wipe out and destroy your mind altogether. You don't need to have a nirvikalpa samadhi of hours. Just, I love the term, it's tanu manasaha. Tanu means thinness of mind. Just thin it out enough to be able to see who you are. Then when you get that beatific vision, whoosh, it all comes down. It is like in the old-timey days, I used to have lace curtains in the dining room. So I could stand in the dining room and I could look out through the lace curtains, see the patio. The lace curtains let enough light through that I could see what's out there. Didn't have to open the curtains all the way. So here Shankara is saying, don't worry, just thin the mind. Now, have any of you been to his ashram, Ramana Maharshi's ashram? You have. What's it called? What's the hill called?
I'm not sure.
Aruna Achala. Aruna, this pre-dawn gloaming, Achala, that never moves. That's what the name of the hill means. It's the same word that Shankara is using here. Arunena, by means of that pre-dawn light. Beautiful, beautiful image, beautiful poetry. So you have that experience of the Aruna spiritually here in class. Many of you have. Thinned your mind enough to see who you are. Now, is it Sthipa Prajna yet? Maybe not. But that will come. Next verse.
Atma tu satatam prapto vyaprapta vadavidyaya tannashe prapta vadbhati swakantha bharatam yatha. Atman is an ever-existing reality. Yet, because of ignorance, it is not realized. Therefore, as soon as the ignorance is dispelled, the Atman is realized. It is like the missing ornament of one's neck.
Yes. So remember, what is the problem? We covered this thoroughly in the beginning. The problem is not an ontological problem. Ontology is the study of being. Our being does not undergo a change. It is an epistemological problem. It's a problem of knowing. I have avidya, spiritual ignorance, meaning I do not know who and what I am. And the metaphor that Shankar is using here is like the person who has an ornament around their neck, a necklace, and they're looking for it. They look in their jewelry drawer, and they look in the pockets of everything, and they, where did I put that necklace? I can't find it anywhere. Oh my God, my girlfriend, my boyfriend's going to be furious. They gave it to me. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Oh, I already have it on. My favorite. Anybody see my glasses? I looked all over the house for my glasses. Where are they? So also you and I do not know myself. I haven't reached the self. I haven't realized the self yet. I do not know the self. I have not become the self. I'm just the worm. What you're looking for, you're looking with. You get nothing new, but you get rid of something that's quite problematic, meaning our ignorance. This is incredibly important because it's easy to slip into what do I need to do to get there? We keep wanting to do. It's not about doing, it's about knowing. Directly knowing. What keeps me from knowing? Agitated, attached, identified mind. That's what I need to get rid of. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse.
Sthanau purusha vadbhyantya krita brahmani jivata jivasya tave vakke rupe tasmin drishte nivartate. Just as a post appears to be a ghost, Brahman appears to be a jiva because of ignorance. The egocentric individuality is destroyed when the real nature of the jiva is realized as the self.
So, this is another classic Vedanta image, the Purusha Sthanam, the person in the post. So here's the updated version. So it's late at night, 10 o'clock. And I'm gonna walk up Grand Avenue. I'm on this side of the street. I walk up a couple blocks and street lights out. As I'm approaching, there's somebody standing at the corner. And they're big and they're wide. Looks like they're wearing a black leather jacket. Uh-oh. Should I cross the street? Should I turn around and go back? Maybe he's friendly. What do I do? I'm apprehensive. And then a car comes, and as it comes down the street, it shines. And it was just the lamppost. There was no one there. So the jiva what the scriptures call my sense of individuality is not an entity. Meaning, I do not have an individual person, the transmigratory being who goes from lifetime to lifetime. And I hope I don't have to come back as a poor person again, or I'm being punished because of past lives. I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. That is the ghost in the post. Now, when the car came by and the post was illumined, did the mugger in the post run away? Did he all of a sudden become a nice person? What happened to him?
Disappeared.
Did he even really disappear?
No, it was never there.
He was never really there. So I almost never use the language jiva or especially jivatma. Some of this text will use the term jivatma, meaning the individual soul, as opposed to paramatma, the supreme soul. I prefer to use the term jiva bhavana. Bhavana means a thought or a feeling. So it's the feeling that I'm a person. That's a very direct experience. When the mind is in ignorance, I feel like I'm a person. But it's a fake self, it's a phony self, it's a superimposed self. It's not solid. The damn thing's constantly changing. That's what makes me so crazy. It's not real. And to try to kill your ego is like trying to take out a gun and shoot the mugger in the post. It doesn't work because there's nothing really there. Only way to solve the problem is this rediscovery, this knowledge of who I really am. Your sense of I is real. It's you. That's your direct experience. Stop the mind, and that personal sense of self evaporates. Because all it was a kind of thinking. And what's the leftover? What's the remnant? I. Gone. Individuality is gone. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Tattva swarupa panubhav adutpannam jnanamanjasa aham mameti chajnanam badhate digbhamadivat. Just as right information removes the wrong notion about the directions, so too the knowledge that is gained as a result of the experience of the truth destroys the ignorance that is characterized by the notions of I-ness and minus.
Oh, I love this one. So, I don't know whether it still goes on in India, but going back 20, 30 years, frequently you'd meet people in the street, and you'd ask directions and they wouldn't know. But they didn't want to disappoint you or look bad, so it was called fibbing. Did they call it fibbing when you were a kid in India?
White lies.
White lies, fibbing. So you'd say, how do you get to the American consulate? Well, go down 3 blocks and then make a left turn and go another 6 blocks. You go down there. Fibbing, wrong directions. So when you are lost and you don't know where to go, what you need is correct information. No, you want to go down this road and turn right, and 2 blocks on the left is the concept. All right. So, right information solves the problem of ignorance. Now, when you're getting directions to the consulate, first comes Paroksha Jnanam. You go down this road, 6 blocks, and then turn right 2 blocks. On the left is the consulate. You go down the road 6 blocks and you turn right 2 blocks. There it is. Now you have a Paroksha Jnanam. You've followed the directions given. See the difference? So, what removes my confusion about who I am? What removes my suffering caused by my spiritual ignorance, which makes me think I'm a person, makes me think I'm my body? First, the Guru and the scriptures give you the directions. Practice viveka vairagya cha, discrimination between the self and the not self. Vairagya, let go, let go, let go, let go of attachments, let go of identifications. Then look, koha, who am I? That's the direction you want. I'm not the body. I'm not the prana. I'm not the feeling. Thoughts. I'm not even the silence between. Vast ocean of consciousness. So peaceful. Yep. That's the methodology. All right, one more.
Samyagni jnanavan yogi swatmanyevakhilam jagat ekam cha sarvamatmanam ikshate jnana chakshusha. The perfect yogi of realization and enlightenment sees through their eye of wisdom, jnana chakshu, the entire universe in their own self and regards everything else as their own self and nothing else.
Yes. So this beautiful image, the jnana chakshu. Chakshu means an eye. Jnana means wisdom, the eye of wisdom. So the metaphor, so you see over there on the table, you see Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is Triambakam, 3-eye. He's got the 2 outer eyes like you and me. Then he has a 3rd eye, the eye of wisdom. And in the mythology, when Lord Shiva opens his 3rd eye, what happens?
The world is destroyed.
So when you open your 3rd eye, your jnana chakshu, your world is destroyed. What does this mean? When I only see with 2 eyes, I see good, bad, right, wrong, yours, mine, his, theirs, otherness. But when the eye of knowledge, the eye of wisdom opens, I am not a person, I am that witnessing consciousness, but that witnessing consciousness is the ground of being of the whole universe. All of this exists in consciousness, nothing but consciousness, vibration held together by thought. Nowhere to go, nothing to fear, no struggle left. Now, this is for my, when you took New Testament, did they talk about Q, the document? Tell us what Q is.
So the idea is that as the Gospels were formed, there was actually another source of sayings of Jesus that they used to write their documents. So Matthew had access to Q, Mark had access to Q, and Luke had access to Q. We no longer have Q, but you can see the traces of it in those 3.
Q means kvela, which is, many people think it's just a list of sayings. So I think you'll have to correct me here. In the Gospel of John, did John have access to Q?
So John's totally different. They don't think he used Q.
Which is the one where he says, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light? Which gospel is that from?
Don't know.
Anyway, the whole point is, I thought that was one of the ones from Q. But the whole idea is, there's no setup to this saying, and there's no development afterward. Just out of the blue, Jesus says this. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. What did he mean? Jnana chakshu. No longer seeing with the eyes of duality, good and bad, right and wrong, yours and mine. But it's all God. I'm going to have to look up that statement because I could be wrong. Maybe it's not from Q. The point is, Jesus had the same teaching. But it's a wonderful term, this jnana chakshu. And you see so many Indians will have, I keep forgetting, what do you call
A bindi.
a bindi?
Or a tilak. For males, it's a tilak.
Tilak or a bindi. What is it representing? All right, next verse. No, we're done. What verse are we on for next week?
48.
40. How many did we do?
8. 7.
Yeah, so we're speeding up a bit. All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha.